Here at the WBC convention, Gennady is an ambassador for the WBC for all the champions. This date's being thrown around on March 11th against Danny Jacobs. What do you make of the matchup? And really, you mentioned to me earlier, but when does Gennady start really training?
Gennady goes into camp the second week in March, in January.
Yeah.
So we have about 9 to 10 weeks in the gym. I hope that the fight gets made. That's the date that's been thrown around by HBO, I think, and by Tom. So I hope the fight gets made because I think it's the second best middleweight in the world fighting the number one middleweight in the world. Canelo's hasn't fought at middleweight, so I'm not going to call him a middleweight yet until he decides to go up. But Danny Jacobs has got great credentials. The only fight he lost was the one against Pirog, and I felt he could have continued, but Robert, the referee, was holding him down for some reason. I don't understand that. He didn't look like he was that badly hurt, but he's had 8 knockouts in a row since then.
Yeah.
So he's on a roll. If they make it, I think that's going to be a great fight. I don't know, or I wouldn't venture to guess on what kind of. I don't think Danny fights Golovkin the way he's fought the other guys, the way he fought Quillen, but still, it's going to be the kind of fight that Golovkin always puts on, a big drama show. You know, I think he respects him a lot, so he's going to be very respectful of what Danny has.
What has Gennady told you about Danny? Like from what he sees?
Oh, he thinks he's a great fighter. He thinks he's got great skills. He thinks he's got a very good right hand, but that's against those guys. That's not against Golovkin. You know, once they step in with Golovkin and Golovkin lands a shot, the mood changes. As with Gassiev, you'll see later on in his fights. We're gonna have. I'm telling you now, we're gonna have the same issues with him trying to get fights in 3 or 4 fights because guys are not gonna want to face him because of who he is.
Both are tough guys. Both are guys that, you're gonna want to. If I'm gonna go in there with that guy and take those punches, I want to be compensated well.
And that's what they keep saying. Yes.
You know, looking at that fight and seeing that he's been knocked out by Pirog, been knocked down by Mora, do you see his ability to take punishment? How do you see it? Because one would say it's.
Well, I would venture to say that the Mora knockdown was more of a off-balance knockdown, where his feet were a little bit straight and he got hit and kind of went back. The Pirog, it was a great right hand, but he went down. Like I said, he was trying to get himself up. So it's not like he got hit and he's really, really hurt. He got hit, yes, that happens in boxing.
Yeah.
And but he wanted to get up. I would have liked to have seen what he'd done after he got up. You know how shaky he was, as in Peter Quillen when he fought Danny Jacobs. Peter got up and you could see his legs were unsteady. Yeah. So that's a little different than Danny getting knocked out by Pirog.
Pay-per-view. A lot of people are like, I'm not sure if it's a pay-per-view caliber fight. What do you make of the people bringing that up?
Well, Andre Ward, gold medalist. Sergey Kovalev fought Hopkins, fought Pascal, fought all these guys. They were talking about that was going to be the fight of the year. Before the fight, it ended up being not the kind of fight that people expected, one. But before the fight, it was a fight of the year candidate.
Yeah.
Did 160, 10 more than Gennady did.
Yeah.
So I think the people right now are upset. They're upset because of what was done to them with the Floyd Mayweather Manny Pacquiao fight. And it's going to take us a couple fights. They're going to punish us. I'm a believer in that. I think they're going to punish us. But it's going to take a couple, 3 or 4 fights where they have good matchups, where it ends up being a good fight, where they're going to get back into the buying mode. But I think we're being punished. I think the people said it's enough. You know, that $99 tag for a dud fight is hurting us now.
We got the Cotto Kirkland's going to be on pay-per-view.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see, that hurts us. That hurts us. Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh.
Yeah.
I've noticed that there's been a lot of pushback from certain people and some fans that put it out there that, hey, why doesn't Gennady move up 2 weight divisions and fight Andre Ward? When you hear all that stuff, what goes on through your guys'
why doesn't he move up and fight Klitschko? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Nobody asked Marvin Hagler to move up. You know, I think that the people that are saying those things, first of all, have never been in this position. That's the first thing. Second of all, they don't have a vested interest in this. They don't have the time put into this young man, not only by me, but by other people in the business, the promoter, the managers. And you have to do what's best for boxing, what's best for the fighter, and what's best for the situation. For him to move up, let me say this: the Kovalev-Ward fight.
Yeah.
I just read there was a rematch clause. Or I read there was a rematch clause, right?
Yeah.
But I just read a couple of days ago that Ward did an interview saying it's going to have to be so right. Everything's going to have to be so right. Wait a minute, you signed a contract. So you move up to fight who? You move up to fight Ward? Impossible, because there's never going to be able to be on a level playing field. You know, just like this win now. If there was I'm sure that that Kathy and Rock Nation argued over the points for the rematch. Now it's being renegotiated. Now, so you can't do business that way. There's no reason for us to do business with that kind of situation. I think that there's a lot of other options out there, and if you're talking about 175, that's the only fight that people are talking about. They're not talking about Adonis. They're not talking about anybody else. I wouldn't want to be caught in the middle of that and prolong him fighting, or should I say, or him only fighting 2 or 3 times a year, or even 1 time a year, because it just takes so darn long to do that, to negotiate that. Gennady's almost 35. He'll be 35 in April of next year. So if we don't fight 4 times next year, I think that it's bad for him and bad for boxing. I think he's one of the torch carriers right now that people want to see fight. You know, just the fact that he sells out the arenas, people want to see him fight. And we don't have much longer to be able to do that.
Oh man, that springs like a bunch of other questions that I have in mind, but back to the Jacobs fight. Did you see a knockout in that fight? Do you feel Gennady will knock him out?
I said a long time ago that nobody from 154 to 160 or 160, there's only 3 guys that I thought at 168 could go the distance with Gennady. So if this fight's at 160, Danny gets knocked out. I don't know where in the fight he gets knocked out, but he gets knocked out. Danny's probably the most skilled fighter we will have fought to date. He's very, very good, very, very good skills, and he's got a great right hand. That he can keep away from Gennady, that's going to be the $1 million question. But nobody from 154 and 160 can stay 12 rounds.
Have they told you anything that the Canelo fight's happening in September?
No, what I've heard is that Tom's negotiating with Oscar and with Eric. I hope those negotiations are going well, because I think that we the fans deserve that is the best fight that can be made for boxing right now, and I think we the fans deserve to see a fight after all these duds, to see the kind of fight like Barrera Morales and Barrera Pacquiao, you know, all those kind of wars that we had in the past. If it's made, and it's made for September, I think we're going to be treated to a great fight.
Do you think it'll be made for September?
You know, that's something between Oscar and Eric and Tom and Canelo.
You have like a gut feeling though.
You know what? Until they touch gloves, I've been in business so long that until they touch gloves, to me, the fight's not made. Anything can happen.
Yeah, you mentioned age, and that's the other thing. I think a lot of fans feel that they're just waiting for Gennady to get a little bit older, a little bit not as dangerous.
Well, I think that the fans.
So young.
Yeah, well, I think the fans has something to do with that, though. I think that the fans demanding that, and the fans actually pushing for that may accelerate the process. If it happens in September, I think it's great for boxing. If it happens in May of the next year or after that, then I think it's up to the fans to push that, to demand that, to keep asking the questions that you're asking me of them. But Tom tells me very positive things. They're doing very well in negotiations, and I think nobody loses in this fight. I think that this is the kind of fight, just like when Canelo fought Mayweather, that, you know, both guys are going to be superstars. Regardless of who wins, I think they'll be superstars. And it's the kind of fight that you could do twice, 3 times, because they're both that good.